All right, YouTube, how you doing? Welcome back to the channel. It is Sunday, November 9th. We got a 7-game NBA slate to dive into in today's video. Like we always do, I'm going to dive into each and every one of these games. I'll give you my prediction on the side. I'll give you my prediction on the total. We'll talk about any other plays like player props that we like within the game as well. But as always, guys, make sure to keep an eye down on the pinned comment of this video. That's where you'll find all of my final plays, so I'm actually rolling with myself. If that does interest you, if you do want to fade me, all of that absolutely free down in the pinned comment. Yesterday was a pretty good night. We go 3-1, including the plus money parlay that we hit. Same game parlay with RJ Barrett and Scotty Barnes. Our other winners included our parlay with the Nuggets and Spurs, both alternate line -3.5. And then Chris Dunn under 14.5 PRA. Even our loser, and I hate, like, you know, the excuses or we were close, because close doesn't matter, right? But our loser was a decent enough look. We had under 17.5 points plus rebounds for Herb Jones. He finished with 15 and 4 at 19. Very, very close look. He had like a 8-point second half. So I think it was a decent enough look. But you know what? It was an L nonetheless. But we had a lot more wins yesterday than we did L's. Speaking of wins, let's pump in some crowd noise for straight fire picks. My man Steve had Jake Laravia. Yes, we had to sweat it out, but it does come through and cash there with the ride of the day. Looking forward to seeing what he throws out our way today. And guys, make sure to check out his channel. Really, really good content over there and good picks as well. He does daily videos. Official LA Adams. I don't know what to make of this because, okay, Luka doesn't come through. So we're not going to drop the womp womp or anything like that because, guys, are you kidding me? Through a 3-day stretch of LA Adams coming through with the plays, 6.06 units of profit, a plus 286 hit. 216 hit, 204 hit. Yeah, yesterday loses, but man, oh man, he was dealing. That's like the most we've probably ever seen in the ride of the day ever through a 3-day stretch. So I'm not dropping the womp womp. Yes, the streak has now come to the end. Luka had, I think, 12 or 13 first quarter points. Was also very, very close. So really good looks there. It was an L, but I mean, overall, what a ride of the day stretch. Let's get a WLA Adams in the comments for a nice little round of applause for a good job there through 3 days. But guys, if you don't know what the ride of the day is, just use that hashtag ride of the day down in the comments. I jump on board with one person's play each and every day and give you a shout out in the next video, win or loss. We also track you. We'll maybe hop on board with some today. Depends on how much the work day gets carried away with football. But even if we don't jump on anyone new today, right? We're riding with Steven. But if we don't jump on board with anyone new, it still helps out a bunch of other people in the comments. So do not miss the opportunity to drop those hashtag ride of the day plays down in the comments. What do you say we go ahead and dive into game number 1 here? Hit that like button, hit that subscribe button. Let's get rocking. Bucks taking on the Rockets here. Bucks 3.5-point dogs at home. That total sitting at 231.5. Milwaukee coming off of a win against Chicago. Houston coming off of an L against San Antonio. I do think that Houston is the better defensive team. I do have my questions around like what their offense truly consists of. Like, who is the guy on this offense? But that's a decent enough problem to have, right? So even though that's still a question in my mind, I would say their offense is maybe better or at least just as good as the Giannis-led Bucks here, because I said whose offense is Houston's. We know whose offense this is with the Bucks, and his surrounding cast isn't all that much to talk about. Yes, Ryan Rollins has been pretty good. Miles Turner has had some good games. AJ Green, Gary Trent sharpshooters. Like, they're better than maybe you think. Not as good as like the Dame and Giannis team or even the championship contending with Middleton and stuff type Bucks. But overall, I do still think that, you know, Houston, it's almost like whatever you can do, I can do better. Defensively and offensively. Tough word today. I'm going to lean Houston, the 3.5 points. I do think this comes down to defense. So in terms of a total, I'm going to look at like a Bucks team total under. I do like that spot. I will say this Bucks team may be in a decent enough catch and shoot situation. Houston, middle of the pack in terms of catch and shoot defense from a effective field goal percentage standpoint, but also getting caught and shot on the 30th and ranked 30th in the league, so most in the entire league. So I do think that we could see guys like AJ Green or Gary Trent have decent enough games when it comes to 3 points today. So maybe that's worth consideration, or maybe even Miles Turner if he doesn't want to take it inside and he's going to stay, kind of give Giannis the paint, because this is a good defensive team. You don't want too many bodies down there. Give Giannis the paint, he'll stick out and hit a couple catch and shoots. So that's how I do think Milwaukee would score, but that doesn't seem like the most efficient offense, right? We're going to take their team total under. And the player prop wise, I guess I just mentioned the 3 names that I do like in this spot. We're going to move through this one fairly quickly. Knicks taking on the Nets. Knicks 15.5-point favorites in this one. That's not really shocking at all. Total at 227. Now, I'm not going to go out there and lay 15.5 points on a weird Sunday. I feel like weird things happen in the NBA on Sunday, but there's also nothing really pushing me to the net side of things. So if for some reason you can work in with the odds a Knicks money line or Knicks minus, say, 3.5 into a parlay or something, maybe that's as far as I go, but I don't even know if that's going to give the value you need, you know? And even from a player prop perspective, it's like, well, this could be a blowout. Where do we see these guys going? I'm not taking Knicks overs because what if they don't play the majority of the fourth or something like that? So, yeah, it would be a Knicks team total over or a Knicks minus 5.5, something like that in terms of a parlay piece. But again, even that, I'm not sure you're getting the value that you need. So let's move on to the next game. I'm on the fence on this one, but those are the spots that I would look if I had to. Magic taking on the Celtics. We just saw this matchup on Friday. Magic won by 13, right? 123 to 110. They really did look good. They won the first quarter by like 13 points. It was a tight second quarter. They lose at the third quarter by a few points, but then pull away and won by, I think it was either 9 or 10 points in the fourth quarter. The Magic looked like the better team, and honestly, like they may be, like I've been high on this Magic squad, right? I think they had like 7 or 8 guys in double digits in that last game, whereas the Celtics had like 3 guys. This is a Celtics team that desperately needs Jason Tatum, obviously, just to kind of man the team and then settle down. Not saying Jaylen Brown isn't that guy, but so far in this season, he's been a guy that can get his, and he's not making many guys around him better, which I do think would come with time. Like, he's never had to do it really at an extended period of time before. But hey, this isn't a Celtics podcast. We got to talk about the game. I think the Magic are the better team. I get why this line is where it is, but realistically, we've seen these home and homes and whatnot before, right? It wasn't the home. I mean, they've been both in Orlando, but we've seen these sort of play twice in the 3-day period. And a lot of the times, I feel like these two teams split, especially teams that, yes, I'm giving the Magic the slight edge right now, but they're not miles better than the Celtics, right? So for the situation, give me the Celtics plus a 3.5 points. Really wouldn't shock me if they win this one outright. They technically should be able to catch and shoot on this team. This Magic squad's a decent perimeter defense, but, not exactly. Actually, sorry, I have it flipped. They should be able to pull up on this team, which is what the Celtics like to do. This Magic squad's good defensively on the perimeter, but more so against the catch and shoot. Really not all that great. I think it's the 4th worst effective field goal percentage against when it comes to pull-up jumpers. So that should be the Celtics' MO. They didn't shoot the ball all that well in that last game. I think they will here. So give me the Celtics. And if they keep this one close, I imagine this thing goes over because that means the Celtics scored some points. Because I do really believe this Magic team is going to round into form eventually. And they have won 3 of their last 4 games, but unfortunately, 2 of those 3 was Washington and Charlotte. And even the Celtics without Tatum, I don't know how much credit you give the Magic there. So it's not like they've been tested, but hey, they're playing the Celtics again here. Now, from a player prop perspective, we could look at last game and say, okay, well, who kind of stood out, right? You obviously had Jalen go for 30. Franz Wagner went for 27, but he shot 50% from the field and hit a couple threes. I do think that this is more so a game in which Desmond Bane could kind of shine, a guy that does a lot of different things but has the ability to catch and shoot, which that's where I know I messed up and said that Orlando allows the catch and shoot, but Desmond Bane could definitely have some catch and shoot opportunities in this one. Another guy that I would consider would be Jalen Suggs. It just depends on if he's still going to get the consistent minutes and whatnot, because he is really involved in the offense. I'd look at him from a points and assist standpoint as well. So 2 player props, the 1 and 2 guard on this Magic team. I like their overs today. All right, guys, before we do move on to the rest of the games, I want to talk to you about Underdog. They're hooking it up today, and Aaron Rodgers, 0.0 passing and rushing yards line. You're going to get a gimme pick for signing up. So use that link down in the description as well as the pinned comment. They also have an unbelievable deal. I've been saying this, and if you haven't taken advantage of it, you'll probably look back whenever they end this deal and be like, damn, I wish I signed up then. Play $5, get $100. Yes, turn 5 into 100. Seems like an absolute no-brainer to me. Go ahead and check it out. That link will be down below in the description as well as the pinned comment. Again, guys, I don't know how long they're going to last with this deal, right? This is an unbelievable offer to the user. You don't want to be looking back in a month or so and being like, damn, why didn't I sign up then? I want to use Underdog, but I missed the boat on a really good deal. Go check it out. Link down below in the description as well as the pinned comment. Let's jump back into these games. Grizzlies taking on the Thunder. Yet another large spread here on this fine Sunday. Grizzlies 10.5 point dogs at home. That total sitting at 233.5. This Grizzlies team 4-6 in the year. They are coming off of what I would consider a nice win over Dallas there in their last game. The Thunder, 9-1 on the year. They lost that kind of fluky game against Portland, but they've looked very, very good. 5-1 on the road. Grizzlies just 3-4 at home. I do think that this is a spot in which the Thunder should be able to play some good basketball, right? I mean, that's not breaking any news to anyone, but this is a Thunder team that in their last 10 games, now we're dating back to 2024, 10-0 against this Grizzlies squad and 7-3 against the number. The one interesting thing to note here, 2-7-1 to the over-under. So 7 unders, 1 push, and just 2 overs. Do these two teams have each other's numbers when it comes to, low scoring games and stuff? I'm going to trust that trend. I like the under 233.5. I think this is like a 228 type game. And yeah, we've been burned a bunch of times taking Grizzlies unders just because you think of them like they were a few years ago as this like workhorse grinded out team. But realistically, they're just a fast paced, not the best defensive type of a team, right? Definitely bottom half, maybe bottom third in league in terms of defensive efficiency. So I'm going to lean probably that under, but then I guess the Thunder and under, it rhymes. Maybe that's a sign, but 10.5 points is surely a lot to roll with, right? I wouldn't mind the idea of taking a peek at, a Ja Morant under in points or points and assists, something like that. Obviously, we know that he likes to drive into the paint and score in the paint, right? Well, this is not exactly by any means the easiest of matchups for him. OKC, one of the better paint defenses right now. The only issue I have with it is that we're looking at a 21.5 point line. As much as he has struggled against the Thunder even in the past, like, let's not act like we're sitting here being like Ja Morant isn't capable of dropping 22 on anybody in the league, right? So that line's fairly low, but it is how I would take a peek at it here. His last 5 games against this Thunder squad, last year, 16, 24, 17, 23, and 15. So nothing all that great to write home about, right? I think he's averaging 19 points against the Thunder over the last season. So I like his unders, but again, it does worry me a little bit because we're looking at, a guy that can score 22 points at the drop of a hat, no matter what the defense is. But it doesn't fit this defense very well. All right, 76ers taking on the Pistons here. Sixers, 3.5 point dogs at home. I think this line does make sense, right? The problem is, at least for how I look at this, the Sixers are on a back-to-back. Now, they look good against Toronto. They're 6-3 on the year, 3-1 at home. I get why they are, this close of a margin in terms of a line on a back-to-back against a Detroit team that is good. They're 7-2 right now. Obviously, they lose that first game against Chicago. They rattle off a couple wins, and they lose to Cleveland. I think that's understandable. They've now won 5 straight games. Now, Orlando, Dallas, Memphis, Utah, Brooklyn. You could argue maybe Magic competes with this one, but you definitely could argue that the Sixers team is the best team that they've seen in, quite some time. But I still think that the Sixers' interior defense is what worries me if I'm liking the Sixers in this spot. And this Pistons squad, in terms of frequency per game field goal attempts, 5th in restricted area, 3rd in the paint. They're living and dying in the paint right now. And the Sixers allowing, they're just middle of the pack in terms of, points in the paint allowed and just opponent points per game and defensive efficiency overall. And they also have been terrible to the pick and roll ball handler. That screams, the Pistons, right? Cade Cunningham on the pick and roll and all that. So I'm going to lean Pistons minus 3.5 in this spot. This is a game in which I don't think that I could deny anyone if they're like, oh, I really like the Sixers. This Sixers team looks very good. Tyrese Maxey, Edgecombe, they don't even need Joel Embiid, which is saying a lot. You know what I mean? So I'm giving them the credit that they're earned. They don't even, Joel Embiid, by the way, most likely not playing this one. He's listed as doubtful. So, but it is a back-to-back. Anything can change. They have a later time to submit their lineups, right? But either way, give me the Pistons minus 3.5 points. That total at 232.5. This one's interesting. I have this game pegged at 232, so it's really tough for me to pick one side or the other just based off the model. I would still say the under because Philly's on a back-to-back, right? They're probably not going to want to run because their legs will be tired in a sense, right? And Detroit's bottom half of the league, I think 18th, 19th, 20th in terms of pace. They'll most likely want to be slowing this thing down, I would assume. And I would almost think if this the team that I like, right, the Pistons, and I believe they're going to be scoring via 2-pointers in the paint, how could this get up to 233 that quickly? So give me the under in this spot. And I already mentioned it, the pick and roll. I think Cade Cunningham is in an awesome spot today. The issue I have is his line is, for his points and assists, 38.5. His points, 28.5. little dicey there overall. Maybe you could just look at like a double-double, but at that point, I think you have better odds just taking his assists at 9.5 for like -105 versus the double-double at -144. Yes, you have a little insurance there if he gets 10 rebounds for whatever reason, but I don't necessarily think that'll happen. So maybe the easiest way to look at this in terms of what I like from Cade is the assists, but I like him scoring off the pick and roll today a lot too. So it's really tough just to exclude that and go with assists. Next up, we have the Warriors taking on the Pacers. Steph Curry's questionable in this one, as is Al Horford, and we know that this Indiana Pacers team is just decimated with injuries, right? So very, very much an injury report type game. I mean, most of the guys are already out for the Pacers, but Steph Curry, Al Horford, I do believe are two names to definitely keep an eye on here. I'm almost hoping that, Steph doesn't play, because my initial like in this game in terms of what I'm looking at would be the under. You have Golden State, who's the slower pace team, and they're favored by 12.5 here, right? They're 50-50 to the over and under so far this year at home. But what I think is kind of underrated, and I did not think this was the case, but the numbers don't lie, right? The Pacers right now on the road this year, the 8th most efficient defense in the entire league. They're the literally worst offense in terms of offensive efficiency in the entire league, but that's like screaming from the rooftop under, right? Warriors play slow up against a defense that's somehow, some way, somewhat efficient, right? And by the way, how are the Pacers, where are they better defensively? On the perimeter. Where do the Golden State Warriors like to shoot the ball, especially with Steph Curry in the lineup? On the perimeter. So I think this could be a nice spot for an under. It is a little bit low of a line, I'll say that, at 227.5. But again, if Steph doesn't play or anything like that, I do think the Warriors win big either way, because this Pacers squad just can't score the ball. But again, can't score the ball. Think about the words I'm saying. This is all kind of pointing me in a direction of an under. So that's probably what I end up leaning towards the most. But again, I do think that the Warriors are the far better team, almost even without this, Steph Curry playing. This Pacers team, they can't get out of their own way, whether it's injuries or whether it's the fact that they just can't score the ball. I'm even thinking Tyrese Halliburton comes back and it's like they might still have trouble scoring the ball. You know what I mean? So give me the under as well as the Warriors. Player props, it's kind of tough. I mean, this Golden State defense is good, and I like them on the perimeter, so maybe we target guys that are shooting kind of above the break here. I would say above the break more so than the corner on the Pacers team, and the guys that lead the team in terms of above the break threes would be Nembhard and Nesmith in terms of attempts per game. Maybe we take a peek at their unders, but overall, they're not going to be the highest of lines either. Right now, Nesmith, from a points perspective, let's get that up. Nesmith, from a points perspective, is 16.5, and then from a threes, 2.5. I could see the unders of both of those. And how about Nembhard here? Nembhard, I would say, is, I almost want to say that, 14.5, and then 1.5 threes. Both of those are options in terms of unders on both those stats, but they are also, because of the lack thereof of people playing for the Pacers, going to get the minutes and a lot of quantity, even if it's not quality, which worries me. All right, last up, we have the Kings taking on the Timberwolves. This actually has one of my favorite, it's kind of a weird one, but favorite player props on the entire slate. Let's just start there. This is a Minnesota team that definitely has its struggles in the pick and roll. And Sacramento is, they run a decent amount of pick and roll, and the ball handler scores in the pick and roll plenty. And Minnesota, again, really does struggle. 29th in score percentage, 27th in effective field goal percentage. They're not even working guys off the pick and roll. They're 25th in terms of frequency, so you're able to run it on them. Who runs a ton of pick and roll, whether he's passing or scoring out of it? Dennis Schroeder. And Dennis Schroeder is coming off of, I want to say it was a 0 for 11 or 0 for 10 game last time out against OKC. I don't think that he goes out there and stinks it up like that again. I like his over 17.5 points plus assists. This is a guy that's averaging 9.3 potential assists here on this season. When it comes to his points, like I mentioned, the pick and roll ball handler, absolutely love that for him. I think he'll be able to score off of that. But from an assist perspective, 32% of his assists come in the mid-range, and that makes a little bit of sense, right, depending on who's setting the screen for him. And when I say mid-range, it can even be like right next to the paint, right, just kind of outside of the paint on that perimeter. And this is a Minnesota team that really does struggle at defending that area. So I think where he's passing the ball, as well as him coming off the pick and roll and scoring himself, has a lot to do with this one. Also, I believe Sabonis is questionable, so if Sabonis doesn't play, I have to imagine that they'll still run the pick and roll, but Dennis Schroeder may be looking to score off the pick and roll more so than dishing it off or dropping it off to Sabonis, right? So it might even help if Domantas Sabonis doesn't play. So yeah, Dennis Schroeder, I like him a lot, 17.5 points plus assists. in terms of where we go in this game, I kind of just ragged on Minnesota's defense and all that, but let's be real. They are the better offense here, right? They're a top 10 offensive efficiency team, so I think that makes a little bit of sense to me. I'm going to lean towards Minnesota minus 5.5 points. Now that they're getting, healthy, and what I mean by healthy is Anthony Edwards is good to go. They are the better team, especially if Sabonis is either hobbled or not playing. Massive hit to this squad. In terms of a total, I've been trying to work towards an under, but every way I look at it, this thing comes out right around like 235. So I'm going to lean under, but just know that that's a half point of margin that I'm pegging this at as to where the line is at. So we'll keep an eye on that. I think if that thing jumps up for whatever reason, maybe it's a potential play. But again, our favorite play in this one is Dennis Schroeder, and it's pretty much the dead set favorite, okay? Watch him have like 0 points for 2 games in a row. But anyway, guys, that is going to wrap it up for today's show. If you guys did enjoy, go ahead, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, comment 20 down below. You made it this far in the video, made it this way through the whole video. Really do appreciate it. Enjoy your Sundays, NBA Sunday, NFL Sunday. We'll catch you guys in the next one, all right? Peace out.